Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. Is the Tush Push going to get banned by NFL owners? Owners meetings underway this week in Palm Beach, Florida. There's some reporting on this, and it sounds like this play that the Philadelphia Eagles have mastered could be no more. We'll give you all the details, and I'll kind of give you my take on whether or not it should be banned. But before we do that, guys, we're getting closer and closer to 9,000 subscribers. Our initial goal was to get there by tomorrow, April Fool's Day. That seems like a tall task at this point, 294 subs away. If we get there by tomorrow, I'll have a special prize for you guys. But if not, I at least want to get there by the start of the NFL draft. So help me out. Hit that sub button if you want daily NFL content. And let's talk a little Tush Push. I'm Harrison Graham. Thanks for tuning into this video. Some reporting going on in Palm Beach that there is some momentum toward the Tush Push getting banned. NFL owners, anytime a rule change is proposed, will have to vote on it, and that is no change here. That vote is taking place tomorrow. And what do you need, or what does the league need to banish this play? Well, 75% or more of voters have to vote to do so. So 24 out of 32 teams would have to vote to ban the Tush Push, and that's how it always goes. Last year, to change the kickoff, needed 24 more teams to vote for it. It passed. If you want to get rid of the Tush Push, 24 more teams are going to have to vote against it. Obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to vote to keep it because it is a play that they have mastered. Other teams run it well too, but they are certainly at the center of this thing, which, by the way, the Green Bay Packers are the team that proposed this vote, so they certainly will vote in terms of in favor of banning it. Nick Sirianni, obviously the face of the Philadelphia Eagles, and this play along with Jalen Hurts. He kind of half jokingly, I think he said this on Sunday, pointed to his former assistants who are now head coaches, Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, and Kellen Moore, say, you guys better influence your teams to vote in favor of keeping it. And if he gets those three teams to vote in favor of keeping it, plus themselves, well, that's 4, right? You just got to get to 9 if you are in favor of keeping it, because if 9 teams vote to keep it, that means the max that would vote in favor of banishing it would be 23, which would not be enough. So if it's fair to say that those 4 teams are going to vote in favor of keeping it, okay, you're almost halfway there. Certain coaches made different comments today. D'Amico Ryans, a defensive coach, even said that voting to banish a play that someone else has done kind of figured out doesn't seem right. I'm kind of paraphrasing there. But then you have guys like Sean McDermott, who has been pretty loud today, saying that it should be banned and that player safety should be the focus of why they should get banned. Andy Reid kind of talked about both sides of it. He said, look, if a player injury is at risk, that's something we need to look at. But he also said he called it a hell of a play too. So he's kind of straddling the line there. I would think if I was a team that did not like running it or just didn't run it, I'd vote against it. If I was the Eagles or another team who had a lot of success running it, I'd vote in favor of keeping it, which is what's interesting about Sean McDermott is because the Bills kind of became the second team that ran it a lot last year and with a lot of success until they ran into the Chiefs in the playoffs. And I think they were 2 for 5 on Tush Push plays in that game, which does show some credence that, hey, it can be stopped, although I think all of us agree that that rule heavily favors the offense. Now, in terms of player safety, because, look, I'm in favor, within reason, of catering rules around player safety. We don't want guys suffering 10 concussions in their career and all that stuff. I think sometimes we've lost the plot with some of this roughing the passer stuff. You touch the guy below his waist, it's a penalty. I think we've gone a little too far. But if I was going to lean one way or the other, I am in favor of player safety. However, if you want to point to that, sure, I do think there is a thought to be had that when 5 offensive linemen and 5 defensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, however many players are diving at each other's knees right off the snap, yeah, that you would think that would lead to injuries, and I would guess at some point it would. However, none last year happened. NFL conducted data, 0 injuries on the Tush Push a year ago. So you add all this up, I'm pretty conflicted. I'm pretty conflicted about this play in general. I'm pretty conflicted about which side I would vote on. Again, I think I would lean on my coaching staff if I was an owner. Hey, you guys tell me what you want. That's how we'll vote. Like, I don't think I'd be overstepping here if I was an owner. I would lean on the coaches I had and go in that direction. So let's kind of go through some, pros and cons, if you will, reasons that keeping the Tush Push makes sense, reasons that banning it could make some sense. A reason to keep it. Well, some teams are simply better at it than others, right? And if a play has been mastered by certain teams, it does feel a little icky banning it just for loose player safety thoughts and for other reasons, right? It'd be one thing if this play universally was around the same percentage in terms of who converts on it, and you're like, you know what? Yeah, all teams run it and run it well, but we do think there's a player safety concern long term. We're going to ban it. It's pretty clear the Eagles run it better than anybody else. Certain teams run it. The Chiefs don't even run it because Mahomes got hurt on a QB sneak a few years ago. He has not done any kind of QB sneak since then. So even though Andy Reid's straddling that line, I would guess the Chiefs are going to vote in favor of banning it. So I think that's one reason to keep it, because it's not a play that's equal, right? Certain teams have mastered it, other teams have not. Okay, number 2. I think there's a legitimate roster strategy here, right? I think there's certain things that if this play was here for the foreseeable future, you might see teams roster certain players to have better success running it. Could you see a Joe Milton for the Patriots get playing time to run the Tush Push, for example? Is that a reason to keep a third quarterback on your roster? Do you have a player who, it's not his primary role, but on Tush Push plays, he comes in as the running back because he's one of the stronger players on the team, and he pushes the quarterback further forward. So I do think there is some roster strategy involved. I'm not acting like it's going to deeply impact the team's 53-man, but game day inactive versus active, it could be something that teams put in. And I think we're all in favor of more strategy when it comes to any sport. And then number 3, look, football is a physical, violent game, right? Now, again, I'm in favor of if you can find ways to make the game safer without diminishing the product, I'm all for that. So I'm not going to act like, super 1975 tough guy. They're going to banish the Tush Push. Well, if there was a lot of data that would suggest they should, I'd be fine with it. Although to this point, that is not the case. It's a physical game. You got to kind of bring your lunch pail to work type of vibes to play in this league. And this play, which happens at most a handful of times per game, well, extra couple physical snaps for these guys. It's kind of just how it goes. Okay, on the banning side of things, it could lead to injuries. Did it last year? No, at least not on the play itself. Now, is it possible that someone got dinged on it and then a few plays later they were injured as a indirect result of that? It's certainly possible. But I will say this, just because 0 injuries happened last year, I think it'd be a little naive to act like an injury could not and will not happen at some point on this play. 1, it's football. Injuries happen a lot. 2, you're talking about 8 to 10 players on each side of the ball trying to get as much momentum forward, and a lot of the time diving at each other's knees when you're talking about the offensive and defensive linemen. My guess is at some point that's going to lead to a major injury. Now, it hasn't happened yet, but that is certainly a fair thought to have. Number 2. It's objectively not an entertaining play. Now, I'm sure the Eagles fans would push back on me. It's awesome. They get in the weight room more than anybody else. They drive forward. It's a rugby play, okay? Now, I'm not saying that's a reason you ban it, but I will say this. The NFL is in the entertainment business. they don't want what happened at the end of that Eagles-Commanders game late in the second half when they ran the play 7 times in a row because Washington kept trying to time the snap count and jump when the snap was going to happen because they felt like that was their only chance to stop it. That's not good. That was like a 5-minute, what the hell are we doing here sequence, and the NFL does not want that. They want their product to be entertaining. They want more fans to come in. I watched the play. It's not entertaining, and I'm a diehard football fan. Okay, number 3. I don't care what the percentages say, and yes, we can all acknowledge the Eagles are better at this than others. Other teams are better than others. Other teams haven't had as much success. But the defenses are at a disadvantage. A QB sneak already is pretty easy to convert historically when you have multiple dudes pushing the quarterback on this play now, which, by the way, that used to not be allowed in terms of pushing a player forward. So it's not like there wouldn't be something to point to before this in terms of banning it. Think of the Bush push play in college football. He was not supposed to push Matt Leinart into the end zone. He did. They got away with it, but that should have been a penalty 20 years ago. All that being said, defenses are clearly at a disadvantage. Again, I'm not saying that alone is a reason it should get banned. But don't we already complain, like, all the rules favor the offense? Pass interference, illegal contact, you touch a receiver, he flops to the ground, you get a penalty. So this is just another play that heavily favors the offense. Now, maybe the NFL would want to keep it because of that, because the NFL wants points, because data tells the NFL more points equals more eyeballs equals more entertainment. So, again, pros and cons there. Like I said, I'm pretty conflicted in terms of how I would vote. I want to hear your take. Do you want the Tush Push banned? Type Y for yes, type N for no, and let me know why you do or don't want it banned down in the comment section below. Again, if I was an owner, I would lean on my coaching staff. If it was my decision alone, I think I'd vote to keep it because it does feel a little icky banning a play just because one team is better at it than others. But if it gets banned, I'm not going to whine about it. It's not going to make me want to watch football more or less. I will keep plugging along because to me, it's not really a football play, but I do understand why the Eagles run it because they've converted a lot of short yardage, 3rd and 4th downs and touchdowns because of it. So that's my stance. I don't enjoy watching the play. I'd probably vote to keep it. And considering the data we have right now hasn't led to injuries. But I'll say this. If it doesn't get banned and there's a notable injury this year, there will be another vote next year, and it'll probably get banned because that's just kind of how the NFL operates. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of 4 Verts. Vote takes place tomorrow. So if we hear about the results of that vote tomorrow, we will probably react to it here on this show. Be sure to subscribe. We got you guys covered on all things NFL.